Great, great. Thank you guys so much for attending tonight. While the chat is open, if you have any questions tonight regarding anything we're talking about, please type it in. If I don't get to it, one of my panelists is going to be aware of it and hopefully answer it for you as well. Tonight is about the United Nations General Assembly declared this is the decade of healthy aging, with the overall goal of assisting our older generation with living longer and healthier lives. Join our panel of experts as they discuss the limitations and struggles facing by our active agers and analyze how we can assist these individuals in living more active and independent lives. Great topic tonight, something I'm so excited about. I'm going to introduce my panel first. I have a very, 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 very good friend of mine, Ann Gilbert, who I've known for many, many years and is just as smart as she is beautiful. Ann is the owner and operator of Shapes Fitness for Women in the Tampa Bay area. She was awarded ACE and URSA Personal Trainer of the Year and has been a popular speaker at Club Industry, SCW Mania, IAFC, and URSA conventions for decades. Ann acts as an educational expert for SCW fitness education, teaching the following certifications: active aging, the fundamentals of aquatic fitness, the fundamentals of group exercise, water and motion, and we have just launched a program called SEAT, and Ann does all the choreography for it. And if you have not seen it, you have to see or look for it. Robin will go ahead and put it in our box. We have Sue, who is brand new to me, but you guys, this woman is so smart and beautiful, and she likes to shake her head up and down, apparently, which I love. So Sue is an expert in older adult fitness since 2003. Her wide experience includes the creation of Older, Wiser workout exercise DVD series and Fit Tips for Pros, an online library for instructors in older adult fitness. She has presented live workshops and webinars for IDEA, ICAA, and the Functional Aging Institute, the Gray Institute, and the Center for Successful Aging, among others, including the YMCA and Rancho La Puerta. Sue is a fellow of Applied Functional Science through Gary Institute and a certified master instructor for fall proof, balance, and mobility. And then last but definitely not least, we have Christian Thompson, who is a doctor. I think he likes to go by Chris. I'm not sure. We've been calling him
Chris
doctor
is great.
and all these great things. Is an associate professor in the Department of Kinesiology at the University of San Francisco, an affiliate researcher in neurology at UCSF Medical Center, and the owner of Thompson Fitness Solutions. He has published scientific articles on exercise programming for older adults in peer-reviewed journals such as Translation Journal of the ACSM, Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise, Journal of Aging and Physical Activity, and Journal of Applied Research. I am probably the simplest of everybody. My name is Jeff Howard, and I have a degree in kinesiology from the University of Texas. I do the Group X certification for SCW, as well as the aquatic certification, the yoga certification, and also the Pilates certification. We're back, guys. We are live, and so I hope you can come by at SCW, but we are still doing them online. Don't forget, we're doing the water weekend coming up, I believe, at the end of this month. That we'll put in as well. But before we even, let's just dive right in, because tonight is so exciting to us. And I asked a question to my panel before we even started. What do you classify as an active ager? What does that mean to you? And so, Doc, why don't you start with that? What does active aging mean to you, or this population we're talking about?
Right. I think it's really important just to look at this aging population itself and see what they have to say. 90+% of people over the age of 60 define themselves not even as old. They feel that being old is not living independently. And since over 90% of them do live independently in the community, they really don't feel like they're older. So we can assume that they want to live active lives. They want to engage in active things, and we should treat them and train them in that sort of way. Very highly capable people that might be just a little bit older than we happen to be.
I love it. Annie, what about you? How do you classify them?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I don't think we should put a chronological age on the senior. I'm one of them. Don't do that to me either. I'd appreciate it if you don't, but really talk about and understand capability and being able to really define their movement according to their capability and their desire. what they really want to do in the next 6 months or the next 6 years. What's on their bucket list? Where do they want to go? How do they want to move? And be really in tune to the fact that they want to live longer and they want to be active the entire time that they're living longer. I call it active longevity.
I love that. And Sue, how do you classify this population?
Well, there's that ad where you see the older gentleman doing a push-up, and he says, "Don't call me senior." I think a lot of people, in about 30 years ago, it was all those seniors, right? But I think that term is getting a little bit, not outdated, but active ager or active older adult. I think those are much better terms because it's not such a classification of you're kind of frail and you're a senior, but you're ready to just have a great time and charge life, regardless of your age.
I love that. And in fact, before we got on, we were having a discussion and we all agree. Sometimes people are intimidated by this whole concept of active agers and it's not cool or sexy, or I don't feel comfortable doing this. And Doc, we were talking about it. Tell them how you feel about that. And the response was beautiful, I thought.
Well, my feeling, I'm biased because I've been doing this since I was a graduate student back in the 1990s, but working with older adults gives you warm fuzzies every time you work with them. You see progress. It allows them to enjoy their life to a greater degree. Every gain that they make with you in the fitness programs that you deliver are going to be reflected in their ability to engage in and enjoy life. So that's really, really great. Just that emotional connection that you can have with your clients and know that you are really playing a role in their quality of life. And secondarily, it's super important to recognize that older adults need very highly multi-dimensional training programs. We need to give them a little bit of everything because ultimately, in order to live an active life, you need to be strong. You need to have good endurance. You need to have good balance. So training an older adult should be really, really exciting because there's everything that you could possibly use as a training modality you can work into their program. So it's also very interesting. They should never be bored, and you should never be bored training them. It's just a great age group to work with.
I love that. And when we think of training them, I think that we always think just physically. But we have an expert on the panel, Sue, and the mental training is equally as important. Would you like to elaborate that as well? I mean, even if they don't have a background in people that are tuning in, that's part of it, correct?
I think a lot of older adults have two main fears. They're afraid of falling and they're afraid of losing their marbles. So like Chris said, if you can incorporate the balance and the power and the speed, but also working on their cognitive health, as long as you make it fun and not, oh, I'm going to have to count backwards by sevens again. I hate math. But there's so many fun activities you can do that get them thinking. And if they think and move at the same time, then something happens called neurogenesis, where they actually build more brain cells. You think, oh, I'm over 30, I'm going downhill from here. But if you think and move at the same time, it's better than doing even Wordle. So there's lots of, if you ever have a chance, Ryan Glatt has a fantastic brain health certification that I took, and I get a lot of ideas from that. But yes, thank you. I'm probably talking too much, Jeff. I get so excited about that topic.
I love that. Sue, go ahead and type that in while Amy's finishing up, if you don't mind. Go ahead,
Yes.
Amy.
But the three of us have already talked about functional training to be able to move through space, and brain training. And what about socialization? The importance and how much we celebrate with our clients. And I agree with the doctor. This is a great age group to get involved in. It's celebratory every single day. It's not about the scale or growth measurement, although that's important to some of my clients, but they want to not lose their marbles. They want to prevent the fall, but they also want to meet people and get out and get away from being lonely. Isolation decreases their activity of daily life immediately. So I love the socialization part, making it fun.
And I love it.
Yeah.
Even real quick, even Pam had commented, this population also, guess what? They're more committed. My population that is more active agers, they show up on their appointment on time and ready to go. Where my younger people will be late, they'll be on their phone, they'll have an excuse. They're still having kids, so they go on spring break and they are cutting my schedule in half. So I agree with you, Pam. I think this population is definitely, they're used to appointments, and they'll keep their appointments. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Dr. Chris, did you want to add?
Yeah, just a couple of things. First of all, in terms of what you just said, Jeff, them showing up on time, 10 minutes early. If you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. I still remember I was doing my dissertation back at University of Kansas. It was a 6 a.m. training session. As a grad student, I didn't want to get there at 6 a.m. I'd get there at 5 of 6. They'd be lined up outside of the facility telling me I was late. So it kind of resonates with me. The other thing I did want to say is, no question, the cognitive and the social elements of aging and the role that physical activity and exercise can play are huge. Socialization, most older adults who experience loneliness and depression, they say it's equivalent to half a pack of cigarettes a day. That is the negative health effects that isolation and loneliness have. So we have the opportunity to build that community, build relationships, whether it's just us with our clients, or if we're working in a group setting, we're able to get them communicating as well. And it's so, so valuable to them from a quality of life perspective.
That's Sue.
During the pandemic, I, like most people, started a Zoom group exercise class, but we always started 15 minutes ahead of time. And now we've got 50 people showing up for these classes, and they're all over the country. And we're such a family. We talk about recipes, and, you know, I keep it all positive. No politics are ever allowed to be discussed. But we're a real, true family now, and you know, we'll never meet each other in person. So yes, it's great if we can go to a beautiful gym like Anne has in Tampa. But if you're still doing Zoom, try to incorporate some before time. And people, I mean, we're really close. It's fabulous.
I love that. I'm going to address one of the first questions. Oh, Annie, do you want to add to it, or?
Well, when you're talking about, you know, jumping into this population, that's what we're all talking about initially here. I think it's really important, the opportunities for you to teach at locations that you never thought of before, rec centers and churches and women's groups and retirement communities. You have an opportunity now as trainers and instructors to branch out like you've never done before. And if you're not virtual like Sue, that's an opportunity that we need to help you with, and we can get you started, because the opportunities for you to build a career in now are endless. Done. I won't say anymore. Oh, wait, Chris has something too.
Fastest growing portion of the demographic in the country. Every single day, 10,000 people turn the age of 65, and that's going to continue until the end of 2029. So if you want a growth opportunity for your business, this is it.
I love that.
I used to teach exercise class. Just one more thing. I started off, you know, teaching step and back in the day. And after the step class was done, everyone just left. And then after my older adult class was done, people would line up for hugs. This was before COVID, and they would line up to hug. It was so different. And so if you are just getting into this age group, I am so happy for you. You're going to have the most wonderful time.
Oh, I love that. But now that okay, so what are the most common limitations you see when working with active agers? What is the most common limitations you see when working with the active agers? Dr. Chris?
Well, the thing that I see that maybe doesn't immediately come to mind is that oftentimes when we work with younger age groups, they want to focus on one thing. They want to run that half marathon faster. They want to get better at playing tennis. They want to get stronger in the gym and be able to improve their bench, or maybe their squat, or do some Olympic lifting. And they are somewhat kind of like singularly focused on what their programming is. And I see that a lot with older adults too. I can't tell you how many people have come into our training programs and our fall risk reduction programs at senior centers in San Francisco and have said, I don't know why I am falling. I walk all the time. And they walk, they're out there walking 2-3 miles a day, multiple walks, either with friends or with their dogs. And I just start seeing very singularly focused training programs that really ultimately aren't prepping them for all of the stuff that life's going to throw at them. To be an active ager, you need to be so much more than just somebody who can walk 3 miles without getting tired. We need to add in new elements into their training program, and sort of, it's not difficult to convince them of that and give them examples of why they need to become a little bit more multidimensional with their focus. I call it Jack or Jill of all trades, because that's really what they need to do in order to embrace life and ensure that they can meet all of life's challenges and all of life's adventures as well.
Amy, what do you see as the most common limitations you see with working?
Well, I agree with the doctor. I found it, especially after COVID, everyone took to the streets in Tampa because the weather was appropriate for walking. And so all of their movements were on the sagittal plane, and they almost became overtrained on the sagittal plane. So I think they're limited in not being able to move through multi-joints. And I think pain, because they're overtrained in one plane of action, shows up a lot of times in their feet and their hands. So if you're getting into this area, I think it's important for you guys to not only study the hip and the back and postural alignment, of course, but remember that many of the people have only been moving in that one plane of action. And what can they do as far as grip and dorsiflexion, which we know is huge, right? And really get into mobility in the hands and mobility in the feet. And I think that's a great way to start all of your training programs, even if you're just squeezing and moving the fingers like things. But be aware of the mobility needs in feet and hands. Would you guys agree? Sue, would you agree? Yeah?
Of course I agree with you. Yes, absolutely.
What limitations do you see when working with active agers? Do you see any limitations when they come in? Are they apprehensive about this or that, or because they all have their concerns? They come in and I think they put a limitation on themselves first.
Yeah.
It's our job then to make them realize that they are capable.
Most of them have some injuries in their past, hips or knees. But when I mostly do home visits, which is so wonderful. But it's so important to develop that rapport and really listen when they're talking, not just be thinking of a clever answer that you're going to respond with, but really listen and hear what they're saying. And they're probably a little bit scared and apprehensive. So you need to let them know with your knowledge that you are an expert and they're going to be safe with you. But listening in that relationship is really key, especially I think with this age group.
Real quick, Sandra, I don't hear an echo on my part. Do you guys hear an echo on your part? They're hearing an echo. I don't know if it's on your side, Sandra. Robin, you might want to reach out to her. I think it might be on your side, Sandra, because I don't think anybody else is hearing an echo. I love that. I love everything you're saying. I think that fear, a lot of times they put limitations on themselves with mobility and what they think they're capable of doing, and they're afraid that we're going to make them do aerobics and lay on their back and do ba-ba-ba and torture machines and ba-ba-ba. And I think as experts, we just have to let them lead the way as well. So, Chris?
Yeah, that being said, it is really important that with this particular segment of clients that we recognize doing work on corrective exercise, postural work with them, pain management work with them is just completely essential, right? I mean, after every training session, we should have, first of all, a good warm up and a good cool down to ensure that we're getting the body ready, and then we're recovering the body from that particular training session. But we also have to teach them how to breathe better, how to carry their body better on a daily basis. Simple stretches, simple maybe foam rolling or other sorts of exercises that they can do on their own on a daily basis to ensure that, yeah, they've got more likelihood to have inflammatory issues with their soft tissues. And when we train them, they're maybe a little bit more likely, if they don't do that preventative sort of work, to start accumulating more pain and more discomfort. So we have to always approach it from a perspective of, okay, there are things that we need to do to keep them going in the right direction in terms of adaptations to their training programs.
I love that. I love that, Chris, because for me, I think a lot of times I just get people that we just don't want to get them hurt. They don't want to be hurt anymore in life. So it's like one of those things, my goal with them every year is, all right, let's just get you through this year without anything breaking or sore or painful, and just strengthen what we need to accordingly, and make sure that you're doing the right stretching accordingly and everything else. And that's basically my whole, just let's, you were broken when I met you, you're not going to be broken when I leave you. That's my main thought. Annie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's really important too to understand, if you can hear my dachshunds in the background barking, they're 3 little minis about this big. I apologize for that. But I think that there's such an interest in my active agers in what their bodies feels like. And if we can really teach them more about muscle awareness, not just where the muscle lies on the outside of the body, but what's happening inside of the body and how to stabilize before they mobilize. That's something that if you can teach them during your training sessions, it can transfer to home life. It can transfer to activities of daily life. So I call it training to transfer, right, to activities of daily life. And I think it starts with that stabilization of the core. And many of my clients don't know how to activate any of that area, right? They haven't felt it in the sense if they've been sitting for a long period of time, especially during COVID. I always say in certifications and sessions, their muscles have amnesia. So initially, like the doctor said, teaching them to breathe and where the muscles are activating from and points of insertion, they love that. That education of what's happening on the inside of their body then transfers to those activities of daily life.
I love that. May was asking, dealing with pain management, should we like to hear a little bit more about how we deal with that? Doc, do you want to start with that one? Pain management.
Yeah, pain management is huge because, again, as Sue said, and also as Ann said, almost all of our older adult participants are going to be coming to us with something or multiple things that either bother them almost every day or on somewhat of a regular basis. So, so much of it emanates from ensuring that they're carrying the torso of their body effectively, right? We produce and stabilize all of the arms, the legs, every movement that we do from having a strong, sort of stable core or torso. And part of stabilizing that is ensuring that posturally we lift the rib cage up off of the pelvis. We tend through older adulthood, everything sort of sinks down and it's almost like the bottom of the ribs sit right on the top of the pelvis. We need to create kind of this suspension through the torso. And a lot of that comes from learning how to breathe 3-dimensionally, making sure that we're taking air in, expanding sideways, forward, back, up and down, and just learning to breathe better and then utilizing breathing strategies as we go through physical activity will really tremendously get their body in better shape to be able to move more weight or move through a fuller range of motion. So that's the sort of stuff, it really starts with our core. So that's where I would begin.
And also, we had spoken about it earlier as well, communicating with your clients. Every movement, is this okay? How do you feel? Are you okay? When you meet them right away, even as a class, anything I need to know? How are you feeling today? Are you sore from yesterday? Is there something we did that might have made something feel not great? It's communication because you're almost like I said earlier, like on a date almost. Yeah. So, I mean, really, with this population more, it's kind of just communicating, and they will let you know, trust me, if something does not feel great. Anybody else want to elaborate on how you deal with pain management with your clients and how you get them to get through it or not?
I agree. I think communication is vital, and we can go home with them nowadays, right? So you can communicate throughout the rest of the evening, the rest of the week with them, either on Zoom or texting and even Facebook, because all of my active agers or seniors, as we are, and I don't mind being called one, communicate on Facebook because that's how we see our grandkids. So I agree with Jeff. It's about communication and it's constant. I remember in the days where I didn't see a client but once or twice a week and there was no communication between sessions on how they felt and how they responded to the exercise. So I think that's vital. Find the way that I want. If I'm your client, I'm your fictitious client tonight, find the way that I like to be communicated to. Don't call me, right? But get me on Facebook or get me in a text, I'm in. But find from day one how that client or how that member best wants to be communicated to. Sometimes I've picked the wrong thing and it doesn't help the relationship.
I love that.
Especially with pain.
I love that. What is your primary training focus when working with older adults? What is your primary training focus when working with older adults? Annie, do you want to hit it?
I think Doctor already said it. That's multifaceted training, and not locking
You had something
yourself
else.
into
You had said something earlier, speed, ball, and balance.
right, and really addressing speed, power, and balance. And we used to think in the old days, and I've been in the business probably longer than anybody on this panel, but we were told and we were taught that speed, power, balance, agility, and coordination were only for advanced athletes. Those were for the stars of the track or the court, right? The athletes. Now we have to realize that all of those assets of fitness need to be addressed in your training program. Speed, power, balance, agility, coordination, and don't forget fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Love that. I
I
love
want
it.
them to look forward to their sessions and their classes, right? Oh,
Right.
I get to work out with that or Dr. Chris today rather than, oh my God. So a lot of laughter, a lot of fun, a lot of talking. And you're sort of part of their family and you get to know them so well, but you want them to have their time with you to be a special treat. Do they look forward to?
I love that. Chris, what do you like to primarily train when you're focusing or working with older adults?
Well, my research is primarily in the area of balance training and fall risk reduction. But what's interesting is balance training and fall risk reduction training, again, is a multi-component sort of thing. It's not just, hey, let's practice standing on one leg, or hey, let's walk in a tandem stance in a straight line. It requires, because part of balance is recovering balance when we trip, stumble, slip. We need the speed training. We need the power training. We need the agility training. So all the stuff that Ann was just talking about, which maybe an older adult thinks, well, I could get hurt doing that, or what's the application of moving quickly? There's tremendous application to moving quickly, both to be an active ager and enjoy fun stuff out there in the world, such as sports and the playing with your grandkids and things like that, but also being sure that your body is ready when you are challenged from a balance perspective to be able to recover and plant your foot before you fall down. And what's really interesting is that the research now is pointing more and more toward the necessity of muscle power training being in an older adults training program and its relationship between a person's power versus just their strength. Power is more important, the ability to move forcefully and quickly in functional outcomes than a lot of these other components of fitness that older adults tend to maybe think they need to spend more time on. So let's train them essentially like athletes, utilize some of the same sorts of tools, devices, methodologies that we do with athletes, but just find the right level of challenge for them. But don't exclude those exercises because they're really, really essential for overall function.
And you see someone's eyes kind of glazing over when you say power. Sometimes they understand a little bit more about the necessity of it. If you explain to them that we're all sort of born with a different ratio of fast twitch and slow twitch muscles, and if you always have loved doing marathons, like I think you, Ann, have, right? Then you probably more slow twitch muscles. And if you've always just loved, sprinting, you probably were just born with more fast twitch muscles. But as we get older, we all start losing more of the fast twitch muscles. So that's a problem because, as Chris said, if you trip and stumble, when you trip and stumble, you have to be able to react quickly. So sometimes that helps them understand the necessity, just exactly what Chris was talking about.
Annie?
Well, I think we've spent a lot of time talking about gait training over the years, right? But now I think there's, after what the doctor said and Sue said, there's more important or just as much importance on gait recovery. So I would say there's gait efficiency, which is walking tandem or walking backwards tandem. And then there's also gait recovery. And that comes from training with power, speed, power, and balance. And it isn't holding yourself up like the Karate Kid. It's getting back to that position with that core strength that's really, really important.
So then I'm going to play the devil's advocate.
Okay.
Ann has a mission that she used to water ski. She's having a family
You're not going to talk about that.
July 9th, and her goal is she wants to be trained to be able to water ski with her family. And so, speaking of agility, Doc, what would you have her do to train her accordingly so that she can get up on a pair of skis in the water. And that's kind of what we're dealing with, guys, with this population. My mom and dad, they wanted to go on a trip to go to where Ozark is filmed. But they're going to the gym every day to get themselves all geared up so that they can do this long journey. So that's kind of where we're at. So Doc, go ahead. What would you have Ann do?
Well, first of all, I'm not a water skier. I've tubed in the past. I used to snow ski. So what I want to do is get a sense of exactly what the task demands are of being a water skier. So you got to figure out specifically what capabilities are necessary. And along with just obviously do your general conditioning work, got to make sure you're strong, got to make sure that you've got endurance to be able to hold on to that bar as you go through the lake. But I'd want to find out, obviously you're going sort of from floor to, or like basically flexed to standing position. So we'd have to work on those kind of floor to standing transitions. We'd have to also work on kind of the change of movement plane. We'd have to work on so you want to get a sense of what the task demands are associated with any of those activities, and then make sure you break them down, and in your training program specifically address each of those task demands so that you're not leaving something out. Maybe Anne would be great at being able to maintain her balance while she's water skiing. She can change directions and have the mobility in her torso and the shoulders, just straight ahead. But maybe we didn't work enough on that floor to standing transition. So she's not even going to be able to get up off of the water. So we have to make sure we're not leaving out any aspect of the things that our older adults want to engage in, because they all matter. They all matter.
I love that. I absolutely love that. How can you work with those who have had a chronic illness or surgery? How can you work with those who have had a chronic illness or surgery? Ann?
Well, we all discussed many things, but I think one of the things we all agreed on before we got on the call tonight was that we need to be able to have some type of relationship with their medical professional. And that's hard. If you've only been working in the gym for 25 years, how to branch out, walk into the community and make yourself an expert in that professional's eyes. But there needs to be really a focus on partnership. I think you guys agree, some type of partnership so that one, you understand what the history is, the health history, and where the prediction is for the future, and be able to work alongside as a partner with the medical professional.
I love that. Doctor?
Yeah, I think to a degree, I'm at a little bit of an advantage being a PhD kinesiologist. It's a little perhaps easier for someone like me to approach a medical professional and sort of get a little bit of face time. It's a lot more perhaps intimidating and less comfortable for maybe somebody who's just getting into fitness, got their certification a few months ago, and now they have older clients. So I think it's really essential to figure out what you do really, really well. What do you hang your hat on as a fitness professional? And start going and talking to clinics and doctors and physical therapists in your community, and just say, you know what, I'd love to give a little lunch and learn or a little in-service to your staff about this one particular thing that I do really well. And that helps to kind of bridge a gap and open a door where you can get in and start meeting some of these people, and they can become excellent referral sources. So just figure out what you do well and have the guts to go out and represent that to professionals that might be very valuable referral sources into the future.
Sue?
And if someone comes to you tomorrow that has an illness or an injury, and you haven't done Chris's fabulous suggestion, at least get a hold of their physical therapist or their physician and ask them what's contraindicated, which they shouldn't do, and what is okay to do. So you have some good guidelines, and do some research on your own. You can't trust everything you read on the internet, but find a reputable source. And if they've had a knee replacement surgery, do some digging and find out about it. So you have at least a basic knowledge of what they've been going through.
Good suggestion. Yeah, and those resources are out there. So, Anne, you've got your active aging course through SCW, correct?
Yes, sir.
There are active aging courses through other organizations. There are webinars you can find out there on things like training with joint replacements, training with osteoarthritis, training with osteoporosis. So just get a sense of things that might not be the right fit for people with certain clinical conditions. The good thing, though, is to recognize that unless somebody is highly symptomatic of something that's potentially really bad for them, you don't need to get your physician consent or your medical release. It used to be that anybody that came into a training program that was over the age of 60, we'd give them a piece of paper, say, come back when you have your doctor sign this. But the evidence over the last 5-6 years has been such that the main organizations, such as American College of Sports Medicine, they revised their recommendation for physician release. And unless somebody is symptomatic with cardiovascular, metabolic, or pulmonary issues, they're pretty much good to go with starting some type of a training program. So let's not handle them all with kids' gloves. We have to recognize that they want to get as much out of life just like everybody else does. And really the way to do that is providing them a good stimulus during their training.
And I think we had said, I'm a firm believer in, and if you're not comfortable with it, then find somebody that is. There's nothing wrong with reaching out to someone in the gym or someone that you might know, or asking around who specializes in this, and then trading that client off, and you taking the care to endorse someone else. The client will trust you with this, but also it's one of those things where we're not going to be experts on everything, and it's going to be things that maybe you're not comfortable with doing, and there's enough for everybody. I find it's a great way to learn about new things that you might not know. I had to do rehab with my husband's ex-wife's knee replacement. I did rehab with her, and that's not my background. I know, try to follow that pace. Anyway, and I studied about it, and I looked at it, and I was fascinated by it because I love the way the body moves. And we did rehab with her. I did rehab with her one-on-one. I've never done it in my life. And I didn't hurt her, but I learned about it, and I learned more about it. And now I've almost become, that's my new thing I'm loving, is knee replacement rehab, which is interesting. But it's because I took it, instead of it being something that made me fearful, I thought this is going to make me learn more about it. Okay, so but if you're not comfortable, find someone that is. There's nothing wrong with that. And you do that a lot on your staff, right? You trade trainers and
right. There are a lot of mentors out there that want to share their expertise and want to grow you up into the position. It's called leveling up. And you do that by getting help from somebody else. And like Dr. Chris said, find your jam. Jeff, that's cool. You have a new jam. Profess it. Put it out there. This is my jam. I love that. Let's say ankle and hand mobility is my jam this week, right? But keep learning and learn from the mentors around you, because they are out there. Just look at this group that we're meeting for the first time together. Do you know?
We've got one more question, and we were actually running out of time. So
no,
I know we're going to answer this question quickly, because I really want to leave with all of your viewpoints on this beautiful term called active agers and how we can make them successful. But before we get to that, how can we provide assistance to those who may not be able to attend our gym? And I think it's kind of easy. Sue, you had said it, but let's hit it again. How can we? They can attend the gym.
Zoom, FaceTime, lucky us, right?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And Doc, how about you? Same thing? You just kind of...
Yeah, and I think that these video technology advancements give us an opportunity to really identify and work with the whole spectrum of older adults, right? And generally, perhaps we might be only seeing kind of the top half level of function that were coming into our fitness facilities prior to the pandemic. We weren't really seeing that bottom half. Senior centers that I work at, or I deliver my programs in, generally those are slightly lower functioning people because they're going to the senior center for a reason. They're getting a meal program because they aren't functional up at home to prep their meals. They're going for case management because perhaps they've got some issues in their personal life going on. So they're sort of at-risk older adults. And it really is good to know that we are helping people that might be one fall away, or another pound of muscle mass lost away from losing their independence forever. So what Zoom allows us to do, or whatever your video platform of choice happens to be, you might actually be able to work with kind of, I know this is a webinar about active agers, but we also maybe can make inroads on those people that are right on the cusp of unfortunately transitioning into a totally dependent living situation. So we have the ability with technology to make an impact at this whole continuum of older adults. And that's one of the and I've also found, Jeff, I teach undergraduates, 18 to 22-year-olds. Older adults picked up Zoom a heck of a lot faster than my students did, because for them, Zoom or whatever this video platform is was their lifeline. They go to 8 Zoom things a day, because if they don't, they're sitting at home, isolated, and smoking that half pack of cigarettes a day by being isolated and depressed. So it's amazing how quickly older adults actually have picked up on this technology. And I'd say 80% of older adults that you might work with as clients have had some experience with a video platform, and you can get them started right away.
I love that. Annie?
Don't be afraid of them not having equipment. Great programming is done from a chair, and they have a chair, and they've been sitting in it for a long time if they're at home. So just become an expert on chair exercise and how to use chair to support activities, and start your training from a chair. And I can help you with that with the SEAT program. So Robin, make sure you put that in the chat for me, okay? But don't think they need equipment. You know, I think that intimidates people. I think they just need to get up. And that's the first thing I have to do to go water skiing is get up, right?
I love that.
The dorsiflex, get up and dorsiflex, right?
And as somebody said, and let us celebrate the wonders of water fitness, which we, you know, Annie and I, a lot of us, we all love water fitness. All right, so we have basically a minute left. I want my panel to type in how these people can get a hold of you, please. Please put in how they can get a hold of you. Of course, we love Aqua. We're Aqua people in this panel. But while they're typing it in, you know, I would like each of them to just give you their elevator pitch on how they are going to keep this decade of healthy aging overall, how they're going to help them keep healthy aging going. Doctor, what's your elevator pitch?
Greatest opportunity right now in fitness, the most expansive and growing opportunity is working with the older adult. Working with the older adult provides you an opportunity to make real, meaningful impact on daily life in every single older client that you have. Any adaptation is going to enhance their quality of life. And again, because you have to adopt this very multi-component training program, it's never going to be boring for your clients, and it's never going to be boring for you. So enjoy. I'm really excited you all are choosing to go in this direction, or at least considering it.
Sue?
Oh, piggyback on what brilliant Dr. Chris said. Yes, it's whenever I tell people what I do, I always tell them that I'm a personal trainer, group exercise instructor. I only work with older adults, and I get to work with the cream of the crop of humanity. It's just the best. So if you're just getting into it, you are in for such a treat, and enjoy.
Annie?
And I just think we need to think more about wellness and not necessarily fitness. I know that's really what we're certified in and et cetera, but this is really wellness for me and all the other seniors out there. We're going to live longer. Yes, we know that for the last 200 years, we are going to live longer, but we want to be active when we do so. So make your next couple of years about training and wellness issues.
I love that. And all I'm going to say is, I don't know about everybody at home, but I've learned a lot tonight. The passion that you as professionals have shown touches my heart. Your population is very lucky to have you. Everybody at home, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you turn in next Tuesday. Don't forget, this has been recorded, so please listen to it. I want everybody to have a good night. Stay safe. We're all going to age gracefully and healthy, and nobody is going to turn out. And Annie, we're going to look at her. She's going to be in a bathing suit.
No bathing suit, just on water skis.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Take care.